All right, let's go over some of the modeling tools. So I'm just going to select all these and delete. Even though I deleted the cube, I could go to add mesh, and I'm going to choose one of these. Are meshes, so you can start off with any one of these. It's kind of common to start off with a cube, so we'll start off with a cube here. So one thing, you could toggle the orthographic view. Sometimes it might be easier to model in the orthographic view, so by clicking that over here. Perspective view, which is right here, basically there's a vanishing point, so all the lines, if you continue down, they'll meet at a single point, right? In orthographic view, everything's parallel. No matter where you move it, they'll never converge to a vantage point. And this is like a drawing technique as well that's used. So I'm going to go back to perspective. Some people rather model it in orthographic because it gives a more accurate result. Choose which one that works best for you, and you could toggle between the two pretty easily. So one other thing, the mesh tools only work on meshes, right? And to use them, you must be in edit mode. So right now, this is a mesh, a cube is a mesh. You can go in the object and go into edit mode, and you could do that drop down in the 3D viewport. Another way to do it is if you hold Control on your keyboard and then press Tab, you'll get this wheel thing that comes up, and they'll correspond to the same drop down here. So Control Tab is just a window that comes or options that come up with the wheel where you could choose it. And right now G is edit mode. Control Tab again, and you could go to or press the number next to it 4. It will go to object mode. So I Control G, Control Tab, and then to G to go to edit mode. Control Tab, and then I'll choose object mode to go back. So that's one way to do it. But since edit is so out of the list here, edit's probably the one that's used the most. Just by pressing Tab, it would automatically toggle between edit and object mode. So that's one way to go for it. Now, when you're in edit mode, so I'll go from here, object, edit mode, you have these 3 icons. So this one's for the vertex select. So when you select these, you're only selecting the vertices. The component, if you select the edge, you could select the edges and not the vertices. And if you select the polygon, you select the face, or the face mode, or it's also called polygons, you can select them. You could actually also go press the 1, 2, or 3 on your keyboard. Notice up here they change. 1 is for vertex, 2 is for edge, 3 is for face. And you could also hold shift and you can multi-select different filters for. So now I have selected the vertex and the edge. So I can select vertices and edges, but I can't select the face unless I turn that on the face. Then I can select the face. But if I want to be able to also select vertices, I can hold shift, click on the vertex component. So I can select the face and shift and let's say left click, and I can select the vertex. Double tap the A on your keyboard to deselect, or you can press Alt A to deselect all, and I'll just turn it off. I'll just keep it on vertex right now. One other thing I want to mention, actually, if you go into object mode here, let me just go to add mesh, let's say cylinder, and I'll go to move and move it over here. You can see right now, while I'm in object mode, I can select either or select them together. If I go into edit mode, you have to select one of the meshes first, then go to the drop down, go to edit. Now, right now I'm in component mode for the edit. I cannot select other objects while I'm in edit mode. It's only on the current object I'm working on. So, one thing, let's say I'll go out of edit mode, go to object mode. Let's say I select the cylinder, go from object mode to edit mode. One thing, let's say from this view and I try to select. Notice some of them are missing. Maybe actually I'll go out of here. Let me go to add mesh UV sphere. I'll go to move tool, move that here. This has more vertices, so I'm going to have that selected. Press the period on the number pad to focus, zoom in on that. Now, it's a mesh as well, so if I go to object mode, go to edit mode, and deselect, either deselect or press Alt A. So if you have something selected, you can press Alt A, or you could double tap A to deselect as quickly as possible, like double press the A button to deselect. One thing, from this view, if I select, go to the selection box by left clicking and holding and go to selection box mode, and then select that. From my view, if I orbit around it, you'll see that the back is not selected. So to be able to do that, you want to be in X-ray mode, which is here. If you go in X-ray mode, you can see through the object, but also when you select, it will go through the object. If you go out of the X-ray mode, if I try to select, it will select the things that are occluded or basically covering up things that can't be seen because it's behind, being covered up by something. Another thing you could do, if you select, let's say, one of these, if you're on the number pad, you press the plus key on it, well, actually Control plus, it will expand that selection, basically from the adjacent or the neighboring component. If I'm in vertex mode, it will expand there. If I go into edge mode, select an edge, hold Control and press plus. I pressed the wrong button. It will also expand. And to do you could do the same thing with face. Select the face, press Control plus on the number pad, it'll expand. If you hold Control minus, it will shrink the selection. And that's the same thing on the edge mode. Select an edge, Control plus to add it to the selection, Control minus on the number pad to go lower, to shrink the selection. Same thing with the vertex. Select one, Control plus to grow the selection, Control minus to shrink it. What's very useful in polygonal modeling or polygon modeling is if you use quads or four-sided faces, it's general consensus that it's easier and certain workflows or certain techniques can be done to model that way. One such thing is if I'm in edit mode, go to edge. If I select a single edge over here, it will just select one edge. But if I select an edge and select the edge of the edge, I'm saying edge multiple times, but if you say that, it will do what's called a ring, an edge ring select. So basically, edge loop select, sorry. So edge loop is basically just following along the path of the edges until a junction, which you'll explain later when you're modeling, is found. And then that will stop it. So that's one way. You could do the same thing in vertex mode. So if you select one vertex, hold Alt and select another one. In this case, it's a loop. If you double click it, it will find the edge. And the way it works in Blender, if you select an edge, if you go in one direction and it's close to here, it's going to be, okay, you're trying to do an edge select here. If I go here and I try to do there, it's going to find that as well. If I go back to edit mode here, I'll go back to the shading. And so for polygons, if you go to polygon mode, we select it. What you have to do is you have to go near the side that dictates the direction. So if I hold Alt and go clear here, it will go in that direction. If I Control Z, if I went close to this side, it's gonna try to go in that direction. So if I went close here and hold Alt and left click, it's gonna go close to the edge. It's gonna do a loop in that direction. If I want to do a loop here, or polygon loop here, hold Alt, go near that edge, and then click on it. If you hold Shift as well, if you hold Alt Shift instead of just Alt, and then left click on other faces, you could add basically to your selection. So it might be, let's say, go to edge mode and do this. So I select one edge, hold Alt, go near the edge of that edge, and it'll do an edge loop there. If I want to do an edge loop here, I'll actually undo that, hold Shift Alt, and then click that edge, and it will add its edge loop to the current selection of edge loop. So pressing AA twice to deselect everything. If I select while I'm in edge mode, in edit mode, edge component, select one edge. If I hold Control and Alt instead of Shift and Alt, and then I'll do over here, like, so basically I took an adjacent edge, and that will do a ring select. So it's not, this is, if I did here and here, that's so like if I had an edge, hold Alt and click one that's in the same direction, that's an edge loop. But if I do an edge that's parallel to it, they're not touching, well, in this case not touching, hold Control and Alt and click, and you'll do a ring select, ring edge instead. That's called a ring edge select. You could do this again on the different components like vertices, edges, and polygons. So there's one other thing. Have these objects selected, objects out here. Well, if I go back to edit mode, basically I'm selecting the objects. It's not their components. They're basically not the vertices or edges or their faces or polygon. I select these by holding, or you could just select everything and just delete it, or not. So I'll just select these here and just delete that way. If I go to add mesh, and I'll choose monkey, which is called Suzanne, press the period on the number pad. What I see in here, there's another option, and basically if you go in and go into edit mode, if you hover over, you basically have to have everything deselected. If you hover over while in edit mode, it doesn't matter which one, it could be faces or vertices. If you hover over one of the faces or vertices and press L, you don't have to press left click or right click on your mouse or middle mouse button click. Just press L while hovering over some components, and it will do basically, in other software either call elements or shell. So this is one mesh, well, one object, but they have multiple meshes that are not attached to each other. So when you hover over, let's say a face over here and press L, it's going to select, well, let me deselect everything by dragging out here, hover over and press L. It's going to select all the pieces that are connected to each other, all the, let's say, polygons that are connected to each other. But these eyes were not selected. So if I deselect it, hover over and just press L, don't left mouse button click or right mouse button click or middle mouse button click, just press L. It will, we'll say select linked there. In Blender, I guess they call it linked. In other software, they could call it shell or element, an element. And if I go into move and I move it, you'll notice that even though it's one object, there are different pieces. Like, so this is grouped. These are faces that are connected together, but they're not connected to the other face. So it's not part of the shell or the element. So if you want to add to this, the other eye is also separated. If you have a object or faces, or in this case vertices already selected, if you hover and press L, it's going to add to that selection.
Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.